Hello and welcome back. If you are unaware, this is the part 2 to this top 10 list, so links down below for part 1, and let's just jump right into this. Starting with number 5. Number 5 is a very fun game in a series of games that I feel like is relatively underrated, Medieval 2 for the PS1. A very late addition to the PS1 library, and might I say, a very fun game to play on my PS Vita. It was one of the first games let's just say, legally downloaded onto the PlayStation. Let's leave that as a gray area. And it's fantastic. The gameplay, the controls, it's just some more of that good old-fashioned medieval fun. And it's just overall a very fun experience, and I wouldn't say necessarily some, of the times, this is still a very fun game today, and I believe they did a remaster for the original Medieval, and people loved that game. And if you wanted some more of that good old-fashioned medieval action, there's a Medieval 2, and it's amazing, and I highly recommend it. And if there's anybody who hasn't played this game before, I think this is one of the best games that came out in the year 2000. Number 4. This game had a recent remake come out not too long ago. Very recent remake. I think it came out on the 15th or something like that. Paper Mario came out August 11th, the year 2000. And it's amazing. Honestly, it's the best Paper Mario game. It's like one of the best Paper Mario games. The other one is Thousand Year Door. And out of all, 10 plus of these fucking games, it's the best one. And so, if you wanted to play a really good Paper Mario game, either pick up the remake or this game, the original. It's fantastic. The story's amazing, the gameplay's fantastic, it's visually impressive for the N64. Overall, it was just a fantastic experience, and I can't honestly recommend a Mario game more. The only other Mario RPG sort of game I can recommend is Mario RPG. All the other ones are kind of schmeep, they're just not particularly fantastic. I've never been a big fan of the, Mario and Luigi games. I heard the one on the Game Boy Advance is really good, but haven't heard anything else about the other ones. And the ones I do have personal experience with, like Bowser's Inside Story, I fucking hated as a kid. And going back to play, the original Paper Mario, which I didn't play it at the time because I wasn't alive yet, but I picked it up for the purposes of this video and, played it on my Steam Deck, but on an emulator, and it's fantastic. It truly is amazing, and it's one of the best Mario RPGs out there, and just the story was fantastic. And if you want a Paper Mario experience that's different from the modern incarnations, or if you just want to go back and revisit the game, it still holds up very well today. Number 3 is a very fun game for me. It also very complicated. It's been re-released countless times in so many different ways on so many different platforms. Rayman 2: The Great Escape. I could not find a release date for this one, but it shows up on a bunch of, released in the year 2000, and I think the version that they're talking about is Rayman 2 Revolution for the PS2, if I'm remembering correctly, but it's functionally the same game, and there's so many different versions of this game. It released on so many different platforms, but this is just one of the last good Rayman games before they started involving the Rabbids, and when it's just they sort of made it like a free run fucking game. I know it's not like they're like Rayman Origins and Legends, they're fantastic platformers, but it's just, I miss the days of the 3D platformer Raymans. They were fantastic, and Rayman 2 is amazing. I originally played this as Rayman 3D, I believe, on the 3DS. That was a terrible port, but I eventually played the N64 version, and then later played the PS2 version. Never played the PS1 version outside of just some quick, brief, tests on emulation devices for PS1 games. But overall, Rayman 2 is an amazing 3D platformer, and truly one of my favorite games of all time, especially in terms of 3D platformers. But there are still some games I hold above this one, as you'll see very soon. Number 2 came out November 20th of the year 2000. Banjo-Tooie, one of my favorite games of all time. Banjo-Tooie truly is one of my favorite games of all time. It's the game I play the most on my Xbox One, honestly. During the days of when Rare Replay just came out, I played copious amounts of Banjo-Tooie because I did not own any other Xbox games for a while. And at the time, it was a fantastic port. The Banjo-Tooie originally came out on the N64 towards the end of its life, and it's truly the last Banjo-Kazooie game that we ever got, because Banjo 3 never got made outside of the tech demo we saw at E3 the year 2001, I think, and then Rare was later bought by Microsoft and then made fucking garbage, and then it made like Ghouls and Goblins game, I think, that haunted house game, and then Nuts and Bolts. That's it. That's all I can think of that they've done recently, and it's really sad state to see the current how Banjo-Kazooie is treated. It's awesome that it's in Smash Brothers and how these games are now on NSO, but I miss it. I wish they were making more of these games. And Conker's Bad Fur Day was amazing. Rare was just such an amazing company. And Banjo-Tooie, I remember sitting on the couch. I own this game on my Xbox 360 through the Xbox 360 Live Arcade, which is closing down soon. So if you ever wanted to pick this up on that, you have very little time to do so. But I remember sitting on the couch, me and my dad just sitting there, and him helping me play through the game because it was hard. This was like 2012, 2011, I think, and I was I was 10 years old, so I was struggling with certain parts of the game, and he was always there to help me, get through some of the levels. I had a lot of fun just running around the, starting area. I played a lot of it just running around, not really doing anything. I had a similar problem with Mario 64, where I would just pop into a level and just not do the objective, but just run around and fuck shit up. Basically play it like a GTA. And overall, Banjo-Tooie left such a big impact on me as a child, just for how well designed the playrooms are. Playrooms, I mean like the levels, it's poor phrasing on my part, but it's just such a well-developed areas, and just the game design, the mechanics, the controls, they all feel fantastic. It's weird, like the hot swap stuff was very interesting to see people sort of get that to work. Even as recently as a few months ago, I saw reports of people getting the hot swap thing to work, which is crazy. And this game is just one of the best 3D platformers of all time. Holds up remarkably well today, and I can't recommend it more, especially with it being on NSO. Go try it out. You can it's included with your Nintendo Switch Online, subscription. So go try it. It's fantastic. And moving on to number 1. Number 1, Pokemon Gold/Silver/Crystal, but Crystal came out a little bit later. But Pokemon Gold and Silver came out October 15th, the year 2000. 2 years before I was born to the date. My birthday was October 15th, and so it makes sense why this game is my favorite, being one of the best Pokemon games, it being released on my birthday 2 years before I was born, but still. And it's just one of my favorite, Pokemon games of all time. I originally played the remake of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which arguably is probably in my top 2 or 3 best Pokemon games of all time. And frankly, it is the best. Yeah, like I said, one of the best Pokemon games, especially of this era of Pokemon. And I can't explain to you how fucking cool it was when you you beat the game, and then you can just go to the Kanto region and just keep playing. It blew my child-sized mind. It basically was like, new game? And it was just so cool. The Pokemon were the best. This is a prime time for Pokemon. You could do so much with this in this game. You can spend so much time in this game. This is truly the golden era. Get it? Golden era for Pokemon. And it was just a prime time. Like my starter Pokemon, I originally chose Totodile, but I eventually switched to, like, on my second consecutive playthroughs, went Cyndaquil, and never really had Chikorita. I did a playthrough with Chikorita, but never was my thing. But overall, it was just an amazing experience, and this is probably the game I recommend the most. It's the only, you may notice, it's the only, Game Boy game on the list. Technically Game Boy Color, but it's the only portable game. I kind of forgot towards the end of making this list that the gaming handhelds existed. So I completely didn't look up to see what games came out on those devices in that year. But hopefully the lists in the future will be better researched with, a larger variety of games. But Pokemon Gold and Silver, it was just an amazing game. You all, if you're watching this channel, you probably have played this game before, if I'm being honest. But it's just fantastic. I think one of my favorite ways to play this game was on my 3DS, when downloading it through the Virtual Console, which I know the eShop is down and gone forever, but just download it off the H Shop or the H Store, or whatever the heck it's called. It basically, I'm telling you to illegally download it, but it's just so easy to download it onto your 3DS and play it that way. And it has no, it doesn't have save states. It's one of the few that doesn't, I believe. And it's just overall just an amazing experience playing this on original Nintendo hardware. You could play it on something like a Steam Deck, but it just doesn't feel right, I think it's the aspect ratio of the screen that does it for me. But overall, though, that was the year 2000. Like, honestly, that was a good year for gaming, if I'm being honest. Just a great year overall for gaming. The year 2000 see the end of a lot of consoles, the end of the PS1, the end of the N64. The rumblings of the original Xbox. The GameCube was a year away. The PS2 had just came out. The Xbox was original. It was like a year or two away. Like, there's so many things happening at this time. So many things about to start. And the year 2001 is going to be a crazy year for gaming. And not only for a few other things that happened in the year 2001. But we'll get to that. So what are your thoughts on the list? Do you like any of these games? Are you going to pick up any of these games? Have you watched part 2? I mean, have you watched part 1? It has a lot of other games that I didn't talk about in this video. But leave your thoughts down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that other social media garbage down below. And have a wonderful day.